Morning, Lexi. It's Raptor Freak here. Friday morning. We lost to Detroit last night. We got swept for the season by Coach Casey and the Pistons. It's not the first time, and the way it's been going, it may not be the last time that we get swept for the season by the Pistons. It's just I don't know what it is. Like honestly, I believe Coach Casey at this point that he really doesn't have anything personally against us, but maybe this is just how the world of karmic forces like evens out because of what happened with him with us and being our coach for so many years and then us firing him after a coach of the year award and then winning a championship after that. There's some karmic things happening with this thing with the Pistons and us, and it's just what it is. Like there were some things last night that were really interesting, and the refereeing in particular. Like maybe it's the NBA that they're like, you guys did your coach wrong. We want to do him a solid, so we're gonna ref your games really poorly and like help Detroit in some ways. Because last night Marc Davis showed up and he showed his bullshit once again. Like, Marc Davis, if for Raptor fans that are not familiar with him, that have not watched the Raptors for many years, you may not know about this game that happened in Sacramento a few years ago. It's maybe 4 or 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago. Marc Davis was refereeing a game in Sacramento where he got the call very, very wrong, and we lost by like only 1 or 2 points. And if he had gotten it correctly, we would have won the game. And the NBA went back in the 2-minute report and looked at it, and they said he was wrong and that we should have won the game. And they didn't do anything about it. We still had a loss. It didn't matter. They didn't go back and change it. They admitted their mistake, but then they didn't do anything to rectify it. So I still hold that against Marc Davis for causing us singularly a loss in Sacramento years ago. Well, last night, Marc Davis looked like he was trying to, like, there was no rhyme or reason to how he was calling the game last night. He would call things completely different that were the same thing in the middle of the game. Like, why at one point when we win a challenge, we have to do a jump ball? And when they have the same kind of thing happen, they get the ball side out. And then he's trying to tell them that they had possession already, and that's why they got ball side out. There's all kinds of bullshit like this, whether it's the way they were calling fouls, whether what the contact was, as far as light contact, as far as really heavy contact, and different things like that. They were really, really not consistent last night. And I totally understand why Nick Nurse went crazy and started yelling at him and got tossed from the game. That was the right move. And I was expecting Nick to do this at some point during the season because all season long, the referees have been horrible at different times. And this was another time where they were. And because we have a crowd in the building now, he maximizes him getting thrown out of the game. If he has the crowd there to help and back him up and really put some pressure on those referees with "ref, you suck," talking all this trash. Leo said it in the broadcast at some point last night that the crowd was really giving it to Marc Davis and the referee crew last night after Nick Nurse got tossed, because they should have. And that's what I'm saying. That's smart by Nick Nurse to get in there and yell at them with the crowd behind him, because it really maximizes his ejection. Because the crowd was all on him. That's pressure. That's mob pressure on the refs to get the calls a little more right. And they did call a little bit better after Nick left. We did go on a run where we outscored the Pistons. It was like 34-17 or something after Nick Nurse got thrown out. But it was too little too late. And sure, the refs set us up to lose. Sure, the Pistons played really tough and aggressive, physical type of basketball. There were a couple players that we could not do anything to stop. I hated seeing Jeremy Grant kill us so badly. Cade Cunningham was the best rookie out there last night. He was better than Scotty because his team won. And there was the thing. That was the battle. You saw it when Scotty came out to the court. He had a different mentality last night. I'm not going to lie. I don't know if him saying he's Scott on his social media handle, and when he came to like in the back, when they show the guys getting ready and they're bouncing balls off the wall and kind of just pounding around before they get announced and they come out, bring them out. he was standing back there with the other guys, and Scotty had the most serious look on his face. He looked like he was in the zone. He looked like there was no fun in games any longer. He looked like he was a man who's a rookie who's about to go on a couple of games where he's going against his peers. Yeah, Cade Cunningham last night. Tonight it's Franz Wagner and Jalen Suggs. And then on Sunday, it's going to be Evan Mobley. And these are some of his biggest competitors for Rookie of the Year. So when Scotty was coming out last night, he was all business. Like if you saw the look on his face, the smile wasn't there. The goofing around wasn't there. He was very, very serious. And when you saw him come out in the game, what did he do? One of the first things he did was he got really aggressive and went straight to the basket and tried to throw down this monstrous jam. And he fell on his back and he hit his head. And it was scary for a moment. We had two of these moments in the beginning of the game last night where it looked really awful. Pascal landed on his hip, and then Scotty landed real crazy and hit his head. And he looked groggy too when Scotty got up. He missed his free throw when he got up because he was still getting the stars and the little birds to stop spinning around over his head. Because, yeah, it was that bad. But that was a different kind of mentality and aggression that I've never seen from Scotty Barnes this season yet. That there may be this serious game mode Scotty. Like Kawhi says there's playoff Kawhi. There's regular season Kawhi and there's playoff Kawhi. And we've seen that difference between Kawhi Leonard in the regular season and the playoffs. Maybe there's some new levels of play from Scotty Barnes that we're going to get to see more and more, depending on how he feels like he needs to be competitive. Because he was all business last night. There was no smiling. There was no young rookie out there. This was a guy who was determined. He didn't have as much success because in some ways he was forcing things. But he really, really, really showed that fire and that intention that he could have if he really directs it. And I think that informed some of his game last night. At some point, he kind of chilled out and kind of went back to the flow and kind of having fun kind of stuff. But he, once again, making huge plays, whether it's like high percentage, easy shots down near the basket, getting position and just shooting over guys, or making big blocks and steals at different times in the game too. That's the thing. He does it at both ends. But if you had to ask me last night, just purely from couple things, the stats and from who won the game, I have to say Cade Cunningham won the matchup last night. And I hate saying that. And I know that Scotty had that in his mind when he came out there last night, that in some ways, this is me against Cade, and this is the rookie race for Rookie of the Year. And unfortunately, their stats were quite similar in some ways. I think Cade got a couple more points, partly because he shot threes and made three-pointers. But ultimately, the thing that mattered was the W. And the fact that Cade won and he was one of the leaders on the other side, that makes him look good. But Scotty didn't look bad either. He did play really well, but he wanted to get that W because that's the most important stat when you're figuring this all out. So tonight, I wonder if he's going to come out again tonight with that same kind of very serious mentality and attitude against Orlando. Because, Franz Wagner's on that team, and he's another top rookie candidate. And he wants to show that he's the better rookie between these guys over these next three games. The one last night, the one tonight, and the one Sunday. So let's see what you guys are saying. G's saying the Casey something is real. I don't say that word, G. And listen, it's not even Casey at this point. Casey loves us. Casey is so funny. I love Casey. I don't hate Casey at all. I think Casey is hilarious. I think Casey is a badass. Honestly, he makes me smile. And honestly, I'm not upset about last night. In some ways, like I said, this is a karmic thing. This is karma working its way out. It has nothing to do with that C word, which I refuse to say on this live stream because I call it a revenge. I don't call it that word because in sports, that word can take on a whole other meaning and thing in itself that we don't want with this franchise, especially in this situation. I just thank God that we don't have to play Detroit for the rest of the season again, and we don't have to see them in the playoffs because we know they're not going to make the playoffs. So these are things to be proud of. And this is something I felt proud of 2 years ago when the same shit happens. Last year and the year after we won the championship, this is the same shit. He beats us. And we either sweep him or he sweeps us. And out of the 4 years since, he swept us 3 years and we've swept them 1 year. And that's just how it goes. So hopefully next year we'll be sweeping them again. Finally again. But yeah, I can't say that word. It's a revenge. And once again, I don't even think it's him anymore. In fact, it may be somebody like Corey Joseph more than Dwayne Casey, because Corey remembers. Corey was here with Casey when he coached him here. He's coaching him now. He understands Casey better than a lot of the players on the Pistons, than most people, because he's played for him at different places in Toronto, in Detroit. And I think that it's Corey Joseph, who's a Toronto guy. He comes in and he says, "This is what they did to our coach, y'all." And he talks to them and he gets them up for it. And then even in that case, Detroit didn't come out and punch us in the face like they normally do. They played kind of average. They played with physicality, but it wasn't the kind of aggression we've seen Detroit play against us in the past, which shows that maybe they don't get up extra when they come and play us. It really is a combination, I think, of that Coach Casey built the system in Toronto partly, that Nick Nurse was a coach under Casey, and that our systems are very identical in some ways, that they really know our system because they play it also. We're like mirror images of each other, and that there's a lot of success found in that. And in some ways, their team is better at executing in offensively in some ways than ours is, especially right now with no Fred and no OG. That's the thing. We had a hard time once again last night with our offense. It stagnated. We were missing shots we should have been making, and there were problems with that, manufacturing points. And when you're missing not only Fred and OG, but now Thaddeus Young also, who had been showing a good, consistent scoring off the bench. And those guys are all vets and veteran presences. So we were very young last night. It was really Pascal and a bunch of the young guys last night. That was basically the team in some ways. So yeah, it is what it is. G saying the refs allowed Pistons to injure the Raps. There was a lot of dirty stuff out there. Once again, holding your breath when you see Kem Burge get an elbow to his chin or his shoulder or something. Like when Beef Stew hit him in his shoulder into his chin, it's like if that had been just a little bit higher, that's a repeat of the last game when we played them, when they concave his nose. So yeah, there were a couple of scary moments last night with possible injury. And I hope that we don't see anything on the injury report today because of stupid shit that happened last night, like with Pascal's hip, with Scotty hitting his head, with Kem getting a shoulder to his chin. You know, this kind of stuff, you're right. They played very physical. The refs were not consistent with how they called the physicality at both ends. They were giving us two stupid little petty touch fouls, and then they were letting them get away with monstrous physical moves on the other side of the court. And it's messed up. I really was mad at the refs. I'm more mad at the refs than the Pistons right now. And I'm not even mad at our team to agree about how poorly they played, because ultimately we did not execute. We did not win the game when we had the chance. It was too little too late. And once again, we see the winning equation to win a game is a lot of different things that add up. And one of them is the free throws. This was a huge problem last night. We did miss some free throws that were very crucial and key. And Precious specifically was not good at the free throw line late in the game, like Gary was the other night against Brooklyn. And that's too bad. That sucks, because that's a real easy place to point to the missed free throws, as G's saying in the next one, is that, you know, he missed, let me look at how many free throws Precious missed last night. He missed 4 free throws. That's 4 points. We lost by 2 points. But, you know, we can't be just that simple. You know, there's not only that, there's poor execution on offense where we get open shots and we need to make them, but we don't. So the opportunities were there. We did not execute. We did not make our free throws, and it was too little too late. We poured not enough water to get the water up to the right level to get the W in this one. And it was just too little too late. The Nick Nurse ejection, I totally agree with. It was a great energizer. It was smart. And it was funny because after he got thrown out, Fred VanVleet did not sit down. It was almost like it was a two-headed monster coach at that point. Adrian Griffin officially, but Fred VanVleet was up there coaching also. You saw him out there and how he was acting after Nick left. It was awesome. All right, let me see what else that people are saying. Callie, good morning. Always good to talk to Callie after a game. I was pissed last night. Really wanted to win this game. Our three-point shooting was awful. That's true. That is really true and a good point. They could have tried Svi in the fourth. Yeah, I was wondering about that. You know, it's really interesting. Svi only got out there for 3 minutes, but he had the highest plus minus for the Raptors last night. He had a plus 11, and everybody else was mostly minus. Only guys who were plus last night were the bench guys. All the starters were minus last night. And you notice that Malachi didn't play in the second half. That was another person that I think they could have used, like you're saying, with Svi, for three-pointers late in the game, because Gary did not have it last night. Gary had one of his worst shooting games that he's had in a while. It's really tough when your volume shooter is 4 for 23 from the field, and that was really bad. We could have used more Gary Trent Jr. executing, making his shots. And even Pascal, he had a good game last night, but to me, he didn't even visually look like he had a good game. He looked like he really was struggling out there. He looked like he was taking a lot of physicality. He looked like he was not really smooth or getting what he wanted, but he still scored 28 points and shot 10 for 15. It was ugly looking. It looked really bad. I didn't think he had a good game, but his stats say otherwise. That Pascal shot 10 for 15, which I thought he shot way worse than that, but he did really well, actually. Scotty, once again, a really strong game, 21 points, 10 rebounds, and, 7 to 13. Another area besides the three-point shooting, which Callie's pointed out, is the assists. Our assist numbers were not that good once again. I don't like the way they're passing between each other. And it's not looking like synergized. Like some nights we look really good, like we're with each other on the same page, and then other nights we look like we're not really connecting correctly. And last night was kind of one of those nights where some of the passes weren't really good. Maybe they were a little risky. Detroit stole them. Stuff like that was going on. And I don't like that. That's something we need to clean up with our offense and make it a lot more smoother and understand where each other is. And that's going to take time to get that kind of second nature. So it is what it is. But I totally agree. They should have maybe played Svi and Malachi more later in the game because they seem to be, obviously Svi hasn't really come off and gone off at the NBA level yet. But he showed the indications in 905 the other night. Give him another chance out there in the second half, Nick. But you know what actually happened in some ways? When Nick got ejected, they didn't really make that many substitutions after that. It was kind of like Adrian Griffin's like, I'm going to let these guys ride and play them pretty heavy near the end of the game. And these were his top guys that were available still. And it was like Chris Boucher, Precious, Gary, Pascal, and Delano. Delano was getting a lot of the minutes late in the game too. So let's see. G saying Scotty shot 58%. He was actually very efficient. Yeah, he was really good. That's the thing, though. They're going to look at the stat lines purely for him and Cade. And 7 for 13 is really good for Scotty. 10 rebounds, 21 points. But when you look at Cade, Cade got 22 points and 12 rebounds, but he did shoot 9 for 20. But Cade had 4 3-pointers, which was a big difference in some ways just for him to get more scoring. But like I said, the thing they're going to look at, though, between the two of them is who won. And if we came back and won the game, if Scotty had been a big hero at the end of the game in some ways, that would have helped him and stuff like that. So maybe you could call the matchup between them pretty even. But, if you're going to decide something, it has to be the W. And Cade got it last night. And that's the other thing that Cade can say. Well, you have never beaten me, Scotty. I've beaten you 3 times now in the NBA when we faced each other in regular season. And you can't say you've beaten us. So that's something Scotty's got to think about and deal with, that his best friend, the other rookie that he's best friends with, is not beaten him. He has not beaten him in the NBA, in an NBA game. So that should be motivation in itself. That may be why Scotty came out so serious and not so playful and smiley at the beginning of the game. He's like, I need to get a win against Cade Cunningham because I have not beaten him yet. As rookies, he's beaten me 3 times now. So he may feel that in next year. That may be real interesting when we play Cade in Detroit for the first time, to see how Scotty reacts to that. Because in some ways, this is the way guys think. It's like they're buddies and they're going to talk all summer, and Cade can lord it over him that that my team and me have beaten you 3 times. And there's not a whole lot that Cade can brag about over other people, but he can do it in this instance because Detroit really is to us as we are to Milwaukee. Yeah, Milwaukee can't beat us, and for some reason we can't beat Detroit. It is what it is. I mean, at least it's not a top playoff team that we're probably going to have to face. I mean, really, we got to look at the bright side, and at least it's one of our own from back in the day. Coach Casey. And like I said, I can't get mad at Casey. I love the guy. Honestly, I think he's a badass. The fact that he comes in and beats our team like this, in a way, I have so much admiration for him for that in some ways. It's like, it's not like I hate him for it. It is what it is. It's just what it is. Callie saying Gary needs to get back on track. Yeah, I don't know what it is with his shot right now. It's really a little bit off. I don't know if maybe people are crowding him more. He's taking more harder shots because there's more hands in his face. There's more people around him. They're really keen on him more. That maybe his space isn't as good as it was a month or so ago when he was getting 30-point games. I don't know. But listen, I believe in him. This is the kind of thing like before with Fred VanVleet a couple years ago. I mean, shooters got to shoot and keep going. Even if you're missing most of them, we believe in you. We know you're going to get hot again. And Gary showed signs of it. There were times when his shot looked really nice last night. It's just it missed way more than it made. And that's too bad. Fan Chong, good morning. Always good to see you, man. Is the zone defense by opposing teams a weakness for Raptors? It really does seem like this. I think that what part of the problem is right now, obviously with Fred out, we're having a hard time running our offense in some ways. Malachi did a really good job against Brooklyn, but last night he didn't really facilitate other people's play. He only had 1 assist last night, which is not good for a starting point guard. If he's supposed to be in that role, he needs to be distributing and getting the ball shared and getting easier shots for his teammates. And one of the things that we saw last night is we really, really struggled with getting open shots, getting good, clean shots. And then when we got open shots, we didn't make them. I was like, oh my gosh, this is one of those kind of nights where everything is difficult. Down near the basket is really hard to make anything. We made it hard on the other team, though, to make anything down near the basket also. But that Stewart guy is so tough down low. He is such a physical presence. You can see how he is frustrating people like Precious and Chris Boucher and them around the basket when we're trying to get our offensive rebounds and putbacks. These guys are all over us. The zone is a type of defense that can be annoying. But that's the thing. We know how to beat a zone. This is something that's taught at every level of basketball, how to beat a zone. And it's really just these guys getting back to the basics and understanding how to beat a zone once again. And that's passing around, getting that middle opened up, and letting somebody like Kem Birch take a shot near around the free throw line. That will beat the zone. And one of the problems was Kem Birch wasn't on last night. He really got knocked around a little bit, and he didn't shoot like he did against Brooklyn the other night. He had a couple of gimmies that he missed. He was 1 for 5 last night. That's only 2 points. He had some points on the board that he left out there that he could have easily gotten. You saw one of them where he got mad at himself when he missed a shot that he knows he should have made. And that's part of it there. So I don't know. The zone does different things to different teams. It really is how you switch it up with your man and like going back and forth. Like the Raptors have been masters at switching from man to zone to really mess up other teams' offenses. And now we've seen a couple opponents that are just sitting in zones against us, and we're having trouble beating it. So maybe it's just a real basic thing that they need to go and do tape and teach them again. Well, this is how you guys need to beat the zone. And another thing I don't like that's happening with our offense is that we're not really looking for those mismatches like we used to. Sometimes we're just forcing it. And the one thing I don't like with Pascal is whenever he gets the ball, he takes a second to just stand there and assess the moment. Like he takes like 2 or 3 seconds, and it stops the motion of the offense. Like these guys are moving the ball around, and then he gets to Pascal and he stands there for a second. And Fred's guilty of this too sometimes. But I really want Pascal to stop getting in his head and thinking like that and letting the defense set and be like, okay, now we're set because Pascal held the ball for a couple seconds. Keep them on their toes. Keep them on their heels. Push them back. Be aggressive and go into them, Pascal. And don't give them a second to breathe, because I really feel like you're stopping our offensive rhythm or movement by holding the ball for that quick split second. And I seen you do it a couple times last night. It wasn't good. All right, let's keep going. Tom Duke saying, morning, wish we had finished off the comeback. Hate bringing up free throws, but Precious missing free throws. Yeah, I mean, it's that simple. I mean, that's the kind of thing where it's like, look, we're going to take our lumps on the free throw line. We're going to have good free throw shooting nights like the other night and win games by 1 point. And then some nights we're not, and we're going to lose games by 2 points like last night. And that's part of the learning and the growing. These guys really need to understand and value those free throws and understand, like, we didn't really shoot that bad from the free throw line last night. We shot 75%, which is exactly what they shot also. But the thing about it is that, there are points left on the table. And because we got more free throw opportunities than them, we actually missed 9 free throws last night. So that's 9 points that could have been put on there. And that's what it could have, should have. But we can point that out, but it's really not anything to overanalyze. They just got to shoot their free throws better for sure. And it's too bad. But it wasn't just that. It really is that they didn't execute in the last 5 minutes enough on each trip down the court. There were a couple of trips down the court where they came up empty, or they turned the ball over, or they just didn't make a shot. And that is where they need to execute. They have to make sure that they score on those trips when they're down like that. But actually, I'm really impressed with them because they were down by double digits by a lot, and they came back and they made this game close. It was just too little too late. And the fact that Nick Nurse's ejection kind of catalyzed that and made that kind of go in that direction was really interesting to me also. So it really was a very smart ejection by Nick Nurse. And I was waiting for one of these because the reffing has been horrible towards us for most of this year. And that he would have done this in another game, but it wouldn't have mattered if there's no fans in there. Why do that? Why get thrown out? So when he was really going at him, and Marc Davis, you're a fucking piece of shit. Like, honestly, I do not like Marc Davis. He's cocky. You can see it out there with the way he carries himself. And there really was no consistency. Why is there a jump ball after one challenge? And then on the other one, they're getting side out and they're getting the ball. There's so much fishy shit, so much not really consistent, like no rhyme or reason to it. And it really looked really fishy, because it did stymie our offense. Once again, what happens in these games when the refs call it like this and our offense is also struggling is that it really, really hurts our score total. It really, really hurts our offense getting any kind of rhythm. And it's stupid shit like them calling a timeout. And then why did he fucking watch the TV for 10 minutes? They figured out that call on the broadcast team like that. Leo and Megan, who is filling in for Paul Jones, who has COVID, they figured out that call like that. And they're like, why are they still watching it? In these long periods of time where they stop the game and they're watching the TV screen are really full of shit. Because they really, in some ways, that is an underlying way that they take away any kind of momentum and energy from a team that may be starting to get momentum, like what we were trying to do at that point. And that I hate that. I hate that. That's why I want the stupid challenge shit and watching these TVs to go away. They need to figure out a way, streamline it. Maybe you let Secaucus do all the reviewing from afar, and then they tell the refs what to see and what the call should be without even interrupting the game. Because I'm sick of this shit. Because it's not even like a period of time. Like, timeouts have a timed measure of time, that how long they can be. Commercials are all figured into that timing and stuff like that. But with these challenges, it's really up to the discretion of the referee crew for how long they want to stop the game and look at little TVs and hang out and talk about how they think they should call this or screw over the Raptors. That's the thing. I want y'all to get an official time for the officials' time to go do that, so that we have more beats to this, because you mess up the rhythm of the game when you have this long period of time where y'all are watching fucking cartoons over there and you're still screwing people over and getting calls wrong anyway. So it's like, what's the fucking point of you to go look at these TVs and do challenges and stuff like that when you're going to just screw people over and get the call wrong anyway? All you're doing is stopping the game and messing up the flow and the energy of the game. The old NBA was much better than the NBA today because there was fast breaks. There was pace. There was up and down the court. That was part of the fun. You couldn't have Lakers Showtime in this period of the NBA right now because of the way the fucking refs stop the game all the time. You couldn't have that kind of 80s up and down Denver Nuggets 180-point kind of game style, Paul Westhead style of basketball. You couldn't have that in today's NBA because these fucking refs are stopping everything so much. And they mess up the flow. When's the last time we saw a fast break after a fast break after a fast break? You don't see it anymore. Partly because of the refs and partly because of the stupid fouling when people are getting out on breaks. The other team just fouls you. And Scotty did it last night at a really key time that saved us a basket. It was a really smart veteran foul, but that's a dumb rule. Players shouldn't be able to stop fast breaks by fouling people. They need to change that rule because we're getting robbed of really badass breaks. People like the NBA for fast breaks and seeing dunks in transition. And we're getting robbed of that right now with the rule book, the way the NBA is right now. I really believe this. Let's keep going. Tom Duke saying also, Nick Nurse getting thrown, worked getting the squad fired up. But yeah, Detroit again. Yeah, that really was smart. Like I said, he can't do that with an empty building. It's not effective because you need the fans to be your ghost. Haunt the refs after you leave. Ooh, Marc Davis, you piece of shit. Woo, ref, you suck. They really gave it to them. And they deserved it. And I love that the fans, once again, were really loud, really engaged in the game and getting things going. But once again, too little, too late. Not enough good execution in the last part of the game to overcome that margin that they've had for most of the game. And too little, too late. That's just what it is. Maybe if there had been another 2 or 3 minutes on the clock, we would have overcome them and had the higher score at that point. But we just got going too late. And then that's the thing, we start too late to try and come back, then every single possession, every trip down the court is so important to execute and get scores on. And we weren't doing that at times. We had moments where we should have really scored on a possession and we didn't. It just didn't happen. So let's keep going. Callie's saying, I saw a lot of holding last night. Are you allowed to do that? It depends. Like, one of the ways the refs are reffing this year is like, and this is really bad, and I noticed it last night when Kelly Olynyk got hit and he was bleeding, is they're kind of letting all the physicality on the court happen and looking the other way, as long as it's like, all right, this is the thing. They do it when they want to give teams free throws. They'll call late whistles, and then they'll call it, like, they'll maybe even see if they make the shot or not. If they make the shot, they won't call the whistle. But if they don't make the shot, then they'll call late whistle and give them the opportunity to go to the line. But sometimes they just say, all right, we're letting them full out play, like fully physical, and then they don't call anything until after somebody really gets hurt. Like, they saw blood on Kelly Olynyk's forehead, and they went and they looked, and we need to go look and see if this is a flagrant because we see blood. And that's part of the reason why these players are overacting. That's part of the reason why when Scotty hit the floor or when Pascal hit the floor, they really lay there so that the refs can see, wow, these guys got hammered. And then maybe they have to go and review it and look and see if there's a flagrant on the play. And that's what they did with Kelly. They went and looked at it, and really that elbow by Precious was inadvertent. It was not intentional, but it grazed them enough, and they were like manufacturing like intent by saying, well, it wasn't, he could have controlled not hitting him in the head with the elbow. I don't think so, because Kelly Olynyk's 7 feet tall, and it's like you're coming at him in a certain way. But anyway, that's the way they do it now. They're like, if you see blood, if you see a player like maybe unconscious on the ground, then they're going back and they're looking at it then. So it's like, really, you kind of have to overact a little bit, over embellish getting hit, because then maybe they will actually call it and look out for you. But yeah, it's really weird. I don't think it's good for players because more and more guys will get hurt, because that's the only way they're calling fouls and physicality in the game is when guys actually are getting hurt. So yeah, it's a bad thing. But yeah, there is a certain amount of holding that you can do legally in basketball. And a lot of it is positioning for rebounds. When guys are blocking out and trying to fight to get rebounds, you can hold arms and you can kind of do different things. But if you do it in a way where it looks really bad, they'll call you for it. And one of the things that's going on right now is with Chris Boucher. He's doing a really good job drawing fouls in those situations because he's doing the overacting in some ways. Like, there was that one point where he got a foul called on Isaiah Stewart because he fell back or something like that. That was really smart. This is Dennis Rodman luring of fouls on other teams, due to positioning for rebounds. And he's doing it like at least once or twice a game, every single game right now, Chris Boucher. I love him for it. It's really smart, veteran kind of basketball. But yeah, the holding is allowed to a degree. But once again, there's no consistency on when they call it and when they don't. It's like really when they choose to. So, because they could call it every time down the court. It's just like in football. There's stuff that goes on the offensive line that between the two sides that could get called penalties every single time. It's just whether the referees or the officials want to call it at that time. So, Sugar Ray, good morning. Always good to see Sugar Ray. I don't know if you remember, I told you that we will win all these games, but we will lose to Detroit Pistons in March. The Pistons look like the 92 Dream Team when they play us. And they don't, let's not give them that. Come on, they don't look that good, but they do. Like, there's a couple of players on that team that are badass. They've got some really good young talent on there. Like Sadiq Bey really impressed me last night. He was really annoying. And it's interesting, Detroit may have dodged a bullet not trading Jeremy Grant. Jeremy Grant was supposed to be on the trading block around the deadline, and they were going to move him because he had just came there. He wasn't really supposed to play in Detroit. Well, he stuck around, and now he's playing, and he looks like he's a really good player for them. So they've got a really good young core. I'm going to be worried about Detroit. They're only going to get better, but this means we need to get better than them faster. And this means we need to start sweeping them again. Like, because we did sweep them 1 year since Casey's gone there, and they swept us every other year. So it seems like whoever's going to win the first game between Detroit and Toronto next season is going to sweep the year. So we need to make sure we win the first game against the Pistons next season, because that may mean that we're going to sweep them for the whole year because of the trending, the way it is. But yeah, you know what? Sugar Ray, that's an easy prediction to make right now, that the Detroit Pistons are going to beat the Toronto Raptors. I don't even know how bookies would take that bet anymore right now, because honestly, it's a very weird situation. And it is similar to the one we have with the Milwaukee Bucks in the other direction. So, yeah, it is what it is. MJ, Svi got 40 points at the G League. Nick Nurse still didn't give him a chance over Banton and awful GTJ. I will not call Gary Trent Jr. awful. Gary's a shooter. He's going to be streaky. Sometimes he's going to miss and sometimes he isn't. But he's out there working. And honestly, a lot of his shots were good shots. They just didn't fall. And, you know, there's different things going on out there. Some of it is the personnel for Detroit is really good at guarding. And Corey Joseph is an absolute pest. He is so annoying. He's a Raptor killer. And I really do believe what I was saying earlier, that Corey Joseph is part of the reason that this Detroit thing is going on, because he has a certain thing about beating Toronto. And he also has a certain thing for Love and Coach Casey. And that he could be the guy who's stoking the other guys and saying, man, they did our coach raw, guys. They did this, they did that. He may be the one who's saying it. And Casey's just coming in like normal. He's like, man, I don't get up for the Raptors and beating the Raptors. I get up for when we beat any team. It doesn't matter who they are. He's just happy when they win. And, you know, it could be somebody like Corey Joseph, even Kelly Olynyk. He's the kind of guy that will come in and just like, even though these guys are Toronto guys, they will motivate the team by saying stuff like, we need to beat them. We need to beat them. But Corey Joseph's so annoying. So annoying. And his defense on Gary was part of it. These guys did a really good job on Gary, whether it's Hamidou Diallo or any of these other guys that were out there. They were switching and they didn't let him have anything open. And that's part of it. But he did miss some open shots too, which was troubling. But it is what it is. Sometimes your rhythm's just not there. And it's tough because we're having a tough time because we're missing important starters, important veterans, important leaders on our team right now. And that's part of it. G, they clamp Gary. Fred takes a lot of defensive pressure off players. Yes, that's part of it right there. And the other thing is also, and they were talking about in the broadcast last night, OG is such a physical presence out there. We're playing against one of the most physical teams in the league, and we're missing our best offensive, or our best physical weapon out there on defense and anywhere. And that's a real big factor. You know, he's a little bit of more of an equalizer for somebody like Stewart and things like that. And not having OG in this game last night hurt. If we had OG last night, I think we would have beat them. Like, honestly, like he is that much of a factor in helping us defensively that we would have probably beaten Detroit last night if OG had not been out. So let's see. G saying Delano was defending well. His offense was not great, but his length helped in the comeback. Yeah, I agree with this. Delano has not been doing well offensively on the main roster recently, but he's doing little things. He's not really causing problem. He's one of our plus guys from last night. He was plus 10. So him and Svi are plus 11 and plus 10. They're the only two guys that really were on the court where we were winning for the most part. So yeah, I can't get upset with him, but he maybe ate up the minutes that should have went to Malachi or Svi at the end of the game. But once again, Detroit was playing long and tall, and we had to kind of match that. So we were playing a more tall, positionless kind of defense near the end of the game. And that's part of the reason why we didn't see Malachi late and maybe Svi also. But, it is what it is. Andrew saying, Lexi, let's no. I expected this result. Casey lives rent free in Nick Nurse's head. I don't think it's that, man. I don't think it's that, guys. Like at this point, I'm really investigating it. I'm really thinking about it. There's no animosity from Casey. Casey loves us. Casey has a nice time in Toronto. He thinks fondly about his time in Toronto. He probably has more love for us than he has for the Boston Celtics. So it's like, listen, he comes into our old arena and he knows everybody. He was here for so long. He knows all the staff. He knows all our press. He knows all of the people around the team. So it's like a homecoming for him. It's like a former player. And, he really is casual about it. Like, he doesn't care that it's us. He's not raw against us. He's just coming and taking it as a regular game. I believe him at this point because of the way he acted before the game and after the game last night. And I think it really is that silently his own players are seeing the whole narrative and understanding the history of his career, and they bring it on themselves. And like I said, that's a real easy way to get motivated. When you see injustice in the world, like people are seeing in Ukraine right now, it's motivating people to get on planes and take up arms in a fight that in a country they don't even live in. So that's what I'm saying. When these players see an injustice like what happened to Dwayne Casey, in some ways it is an injustice. Let's not get it twisted. He built our team up for like 8 years, and then right before we're about to win a championship, we pulled a rug out from underneath him. So that's a real easy way for Corey Joseph to say, look, coach got screwed. I was here. I saw how hard he worked for the Raptors. It's not even Casey at this point. And I think, and part of it also is the similarities in our system and the different things. And maybe Detroit has a little bit more of the physicality than we have. And that maybe that's something that we need in the offseason is we need a little more physicality to match them. But maybe it's just OG coming back. But yeah, it's a really weird situation. Like I said, I don't hate this loss as much as the last one to Detroit. There was some good things that happened in the game last night. It's another learning lesson. Like Scotty needed to lose last night and get more learning from losing. And that's tough. And this is that year for that. Let's get a lot of these kind of losing these kind of games out of the way this year. So next year we get a clean slate. We really, really take care of the ball and execute and play smart the whole 48 minutes so that it adds up to a win every night. And they can see the folly of ways to lose the game throughout the game like they did last night. There was a lot of dumb shit, like extra free throws for technicals that shouldn't, all kinds of fucking bullshit technicals last night. One of the technicals that really pissed me off was the one when Scotty got fired up after that dunk. They gave him a technical for flexing and that kind of stuff. Why do you do that, NBA? This is not the NFL. You guys should, they penalize people for celebrating after touchdowns, but they shouldn't do that in the NBA. The NBA is a close relationship with the fans. They're right next to you on the court. They want the energy. You want exuberance. He's not hurting anyone. He's just showing excitement from making a great play. And you fucking penalize him by giving him a technical. Now, the thing they did to save face was they gave a technical to Stewart on the same play. So it was a double technical and nobody got to shoot free throws. But that's what I'm saying. It's bullshit like that. Like, just because he's fired up like that, he's not trying to hit anyone. He's not going aggressive at anyone. He's just showing a fired up thing. And that, I don't like that because it dissuades him from getting pumped up like that or having that kind of I don't like that. That really pissed me off when they called the technical on Scotty Barnes last night. Really, really pissed me off. Let's keep going. MJ saying the deal Masai done must be our 2019 chip and never win a game against Casey. Yeah, okay. So there's some sort of deal with the devil that they did, MJ. Is that what you're saying? Okay, you guys can have the chip, but you'll never beat Casey again. Well, that's not true because we did sweep him 1 year after the championship. And we can beat them. It's just, I don't know. I don't think it's a mental thing. Let's not make this bigger than it is. It's just that team really matches up well against us. They kind of hurt us in different ways and make it hard for us. We have a hard time with our offense when we play against them because they have a really good physical defense. And they're doing a good job on stopping our three-point shooters, obviously, because our three-point shooting was absolute garbage last night. Like, it's really, really bad. So, yeah, that's an interesting idea that there was a deal made with the devil to get the championship. I don't know. You could say a lot of different stuff about that, like with the Kawhi and how he came and left. You can have Kawhi for 1 year and get a championship, but he won't be there the next year. I don't know. G saying when Birch got elbowed, the ref literally saw it and turned away. Yeah, see, they're so full of shit. They are so full of shit. And I'm so glad that Nick Nurse, it wasn't even the stuff that we saw. There was so much bullshit that they were doing wrong last night, the refs, that Nick just got fed up. He just got fed up, and that was enough. It was enough is enough. Enough is enough. And he was like, yeah, he was ready to just let him know. And I'm glad he went off on him. I hate Marc Davis so much. I actually was starting to like him more because he was showing in good faith that he could ref a fair game. But last night he threw that all out the window. Marc Davis, you piece of shit. Oh, you are one of the worst refs in the NBA. I hate you so much. Oh my gosh, I hate him so much. And that's the thing. They should know that Birch is a player that just spent time out because of this Detroit team busting his nose. So why can't you protect the players and their livelihoods out there? You see this kind of stuff with Kelly Olynyk and the blood on his forehead. Where was the call for that with Birch? Call it the same way on both ends of the court, refs. That's all Nick Nurse was asking you to do. And you were not doing that last night. You were showing a lot of favoritism towards Detroit. And later on in the game, yeah, you flipped it and you started showing more favoritism to us to show face. And it's funny because they complained about how bad the calls for them at the end of the game, and they still won. That's what they were saying. They're like, oh, the calls were so bad at the end of the game, but we pulled it out. We still won it. Well, the calls were bad the whole fucking game. They were bad for us for a majority of the game, and then they were bad for y'all at the end of the game. Because it was just bad fucking refs, really bad refs. G saying Barnes got a tech for flexing. I know, that was so fucking stupid. G's also saying this is a game Thad would have helped with physicality as well too. Yeah, he would have helped with physicality. He may have helped with some three-pointers. Like he would have helped with leadership as far as being one of the few veterans we have available right now. Because, listen, we don't have a lot of experience out there on the court with Fred and OG out. Those are two of our main experienced guys in our rotation. And, it's really Pascal and, Chris to a degree. The rest of them are all like young players that are 3 years and younger. And that's a big, big, big difference. That's part of the reason why we brought Thad in, is because we need that more veteran leadership. Let's see. And he would have played well with the physicality for sure. Tom Duke saying, but Boucher said the ball doesn't listen when they play Detroit. It's not as simple as that. Part of it is like, look, there were a couple of goaltending calls around the basket that were real fishy also. Like we got a goaltending that Chris had. That was not goaltending. The ball was still on the way up. And then there were other calls where they gave a goaltending to them where I was like, that's not goaltending. Like that was a bullshit call with the goaltending calls. There's a bullshit call with like physicality foul calls where we're touch fouls on one end and our guys are getting nailed in the chin and nothing called. There was so much inconsistency at the two ends of the court last night that it was just messed up. It was messed up. Sugar Ray saying, so Boston is in the 5th seed now. Do you think we can catch them? I don't really care specifically about any specific team. I just want us to move up. If it's Cleveland that slides and they fall in the play-in and we end up in the top 6 because Cleveland fell out, that's great. But I just want us to get up there, get to the 5th seed at the lowest. I mean, that's where I'd like us to be at the end of the season, at least the 5th seed, because I don't want us to have some weird thing happen at the end of the season where we're sitting in 6th and something flips at the end or a tiebreaker, and all of a sudden we're in the play-in. So I want us to get some insurance that we're not going to be in the play-in. So get to the 5th seed. It doesn't even matter if we get the full home court in the top 4 seeds. Get to the 5th seed, and that'll ensure that we're not dealing with any extra play-in games. So yeah, Boston. It doesn't matter. We can't control what Boston's going to do unless we're playing them, and that's the thing. They could continue to keep winning, and they could stay above us. But as long as somebody above us starts to fall, and it may be Cleveland, it could be Milwaukee to a degree also, because Milwaukee has been sliding a little bit. So yeah, it's that kind of stuff. All right, let me go ahead and just finish up just looking at the box score from last night, and then we'll start previewing Orlando. Yeah, Grant absolutely killed us. 8 for 14 is never good for an opponent to have against us. 26 points. Bay, and another huge night, like 23 points. And then Cunningham, 22 points. So they have 3 players and 20 points. That's really tough to deal with. And honestly, their 3-point shooters off the bench hurt us. That Magruder stuff in the middle of the game did not help. And you know, Corey Joseph, once again, he only had 5 points, but he was really a pest, and he was a big factor in the game last night. Now, on our side, I can't really get mad at too many of our guys. Obviously, Precious with the free throws, 4 missed free throws was really bad. But, a lot of these guys didn't play pretty good. Gary could have shot better, obviously, but Pascal played good. Barnes played good. Boucher was really active, got 10 rebounds, and did some really key important stuff. And it is what it is. It's like I can't get mad at him. I know some people are going to dog Precious today because of the missed free throws, and some people are going to dog Gary just because he shot poorly. But it is what it is. We can't all show up perfect every single night, and somebody's got to pick up and take the slack and get us there. And really, we got put in a hole by the physicality of Detroit, by the inconsistent refereeing, and then also by our poor execution and our trouble with our offense. That really, really hurt. G saying, unfortunately, DJ Wilson is injured. Yeah, this is another game where he could have really came out and maybe helped us. He would have got some minutes, stuff like that. He really does have some bad luck with missing time when we got him on these 10 days and then he can't play. That sucks. That's got to be so frustrating for him. And Andrew saying, I really want to beat the Caps. This is true. This is too. Yeah, we can't get past tonight. First of all, tonight, Orlando. All right, let's just do this right now. Orlando, I'm looking at them, and their injuries are nothing too substantial right now. They've got the other Wagner's out. Hans is out. Hans Wagner, not Hans, Mo Wagner. He's out. So the older Wagner's out. Jonathan Isaac's still out. And then Bol still hasn't showed up because I don't know what's going on with his physical or whatever. But yeah, they're pretty healthy, and they've been rolling. They've actually won 2 of their last 3 games, the Orlando Magic. So once again, we're catching a really shitty team that is kind of in a winning spot. Like since the All-Star break, Orlando has won 2 out of 3 games. So they're kind of on a winning side. That's a winning slide for them. So we can't take them lightly. We really need to beat the shit out of them. And I like our chances, honestly, because Orlando, we've handled them pretty good. I went to the first game against them where we beat them by 1 point at home, and that was way too close. We can't have it be close this time. We need to beat the hell out of them and have a nice, comfortable game and get some of our bench guys more minutes to get out there and get more confidence and hit some shots. Sugar Ray saying, what do you think about the play? And I don't stand it, and I don't like it as well. Go back to what it was before. The plan. What do I think about the plan? I like the plan, actually. I think the plan actually adds a really interesting element to the playoff race because in some ways it makes it more important down at the bottom. Before it didn't really matter. Like you're either in the playoffs or you're not. But this actually allows more teams to try and play for the playoffs because there's more chance. And it kind of did some interesting things to the trade deadline. More teams thought they were buyers than sellers. So the trade deadline was changed because of it. I think it's good for the game because another thing that it does also is it stops teams from tanking. Like it on the down low is a way of deterring teams from trying to lose on purpose. And I think that's good. because like the tanking trend that was happening in the middle of the 2010s with Philadelphia and stuff like that was really bad and stupid. Like teams should not be losing intentionally to try and get draft picks. The people that talk about the tanking strategy as fans are fucking full of shit. I hate tankers. I hate people that think teams should tank to try and get high draft picks because there's all kinds of flaws in that kind of philosophy. First of all, you're conditioning your team to lose and like get good at being losers. And second of all, there's no guarantees that a lottery pick is going to be a savior anyway. There's so many busts in the NBA and drafts. They're like, why the fuck do you want to lose just to get somebody who may not help you anyway? So I hate that whole mentality. So the play-in, in some ways, it stops teams from having that mentality and trying to be a tanking team. So it's good for the game. I think the play-in's here to stay, and it's going to be around. So I like it. I think it's a good thing. There's some things that they've tried and done that I'm like, that doesn't really work. Like these challenge things that are going on right now. Like some of the stuff the referees are doing right now, I don't think works. But the play-in is actually a good format. And it's real good because like all season we're looking at it and we're talking about we don't want to be a play-in team. We want to be a real playoff team. And that really does stratify the teams a little bit more. You got the top 6, those 4 play-in teams, and then you have that bottom 5 that aren't in the playoffs. And you can really see where you are in some ways. It's like it's different. Tom Duke saying, yeah, Hans and Franz. That's what I call them, Hans and Franz. We are going to pump you up. Yeah. G saying we have the Spice and Dice. Yes, Spice and Dice is a nickname that was made up by this guy who's in one of these Facebook groups that I'm in with. He's really trying to push it because of Fred's Bet on Yourself and Spicy P. It's the Spice and Dice connection. I condone it. I think it's pretty cool. Tag team combination kind of name, Spice and Dice. But yeah, we need to get that dice back. We need that dice back because he really is a steadying force. He's a great weapon to have late in the game to help try and hit big shots and direct us towards W's. And that Fred could have been a big factor in the game last night if he had been healthy and playing. Sugar Ray, do you remember Tank for Wiggins? Oh my gosh, I can remember so many stupid things to take. Like there's fans now that are Raptor fans. They call themselves fans that want us to lose right now. It's because they think that we'll get a better draft pick and that they'll help us. Listen, we've got the guys we want right now. We don't need to continue to bring new blood in. We've got a core right now. Getting a new rookie every year isn't exactly the way to do it in the NBA. You need to get good guys and just keep building off them. Sometimes you build in more talented rookies after other guys, and then there's conflict because there's guys worried about losing their spot. There's issues because this guy's really talented. Also, you can have too much talent on your team and guys aren't getting used and they become discontented and they're complaining and then there's problems on your team. So you want role players and different role players. You don't want to get too much talent on your team because it can hurt in some ways. So I like what we have. I like our mix right now. I don't think that our draft pick that we get this summer is going to be that important to the team next year. So we need to really just like focus on our core, getting them reps, getting them more time together because then they'll play better together and they'll make better passes. They'll make better shots. They'll just have better defensive synergy, stuff like that. So, all right, let's do the real mascot matchup of the day. So the Raptor yesterday, he's walking down this road that's called the Season. And he picked up the car part. He licked it. It sparked up. It burned his tongue. His tongue really hurts. Like he got hurt bad by this spark plug. A lot worse than he thought. He kicked it to the curb and it's gone for the season. It's out of his way. It's not going to be seen down the road. But it hurt him. It really hurt him. He's sad. So he's walking down the street. He kind of, like when Shawn Michaels, he lost his smile. Yeah, the Raptors lost his smile because he feels real bad that this car part was able to make him feel so shitty. So he's walking down the street and it's just sadness. He's feeling real sad. And something happened. He comes down the street and he comes into a residential neighborhood on the highway. And he's like, he's walking and the piano music's playing. Dun, 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 dun. It's so sad. It's like that Bill Bixby Incredible Hulk music. And he sees this old woman sitting on her front porch. Like, she's just smiling. She's like a classic grandma with the glasses, the white curly hair, the floral dress, just sitting out there smiling and say, "Hey, Sonny, how you doing?" And the Raptor's like, "Hey," he like waves to her. She's like, "You seem forlorn." And she's like, "Why don't you come talk to Grandma?" And he comes and sits on the porch with Grandma. And she's like, "You seem like you're having a whole time. You're all cut up and beat up, and your tongue's all singed, and you just seem like you're having a horrible time." And the Raptor's like, because he doesn't talk. He's just like, "Well, why don't I go get you some of my cookies?" So she goes inside and gets him some freshly baked grandma cookies. And he's like eating them. And all of a sudden, he feels better. And he says, "You know what? I knew you were down." And she's like, "So I felt like I needed to bring you up. And that's the magic of friends." And he's like, "Mm-hmm." And so he made a new friend, a grandma friend who made him cookies, and now he feels better. And so that's the magic of friendship. And we all win with the magic of friendship. And that's the real mascot matchup of the day. We'll see how it goes. Who knows? Are those cookies okay to eat, or were they poison? We'll find out tomorrow. That's your real mascot matchup. We got to see if the friendship magic is real. All right, that was silly, but that's me making some shit up off the top of my head. Sugar Ray saying, "Yeah, I hate tanking as well." It's just not a sound strategy. It's like, why? Our franchise is so about winning. Or we're here to win. You're here to win. We're here to win. We just win. And when you do that with tanking, you really make your team. We are here to lose. Yes, just lose. We losers. We are losers. And sometimes you can't revert back. And especially if you have young players that are in development and they start learning losing kind of like habits, that's never good. That's never good. So you want to be all about winning all the time, no matter if your team's good or bad or not. You could be the shittiest team in the league. You need to go out and try and win every single night. Because if you have that kind of culture around your team, you become a losing kind of culture. And Philadelphia's had a hard time shaking that losing culture from their franchise, from what they were doing. They still lose games, partly because of the remnants of that tanking, losing mentality. And that's what we don't want any of that. Yeah. So, yeah, Tom Duke saying friendship, no poison. Well, we'll see tonight. Let's see what happens tonight. And with the next story, we'll find out whether those cookies were okay or not. I don't know. It's like magic. How can I do this? I'm like, we'll make it grandma magic. I don't know. Alistair saying, if we have to play Detroit in a 7-game series, I don't know. All I'm going to say, yeah, I don't know, Alistair. I don't think I would take that bet either. Although you don't know. With the playoffs, it's a totally different kind of thing. It's hard to say. I like to think that any team in the NBA, if we get a 7-game series, we're going to figure out a way to get 4 of them. And that's what I always say. I don't care if it's Phoenix. I don't care if it's Golden State. I don't care if it's Miami. You put us in a 7-game series with any team in the playoffs, we're going to try and figure out a way to win, because that's our mentality about it. Fred VanVleet says, you put me in a playoff series with anybody, we will try and get 4. So I don't know. It's tough. It's a different stage. It's a different kind of thing. The stakes are higher. It may be a different kind of outcome in that situation. But from what we've seen, yeah, I think you're right. It's like the Detroit just has our number, and that's just how it is. So, all right, tonight with the Orlando Magic, obviously, once again, we cannot play down to somebody. Detroit is a special case. It's not that we're playing down to them. It's just that they've got our number. And Orlando shouldn't have our number in any of these kind of ways. They don't have the kind of physicality that Detroit has. They don't have the kind of like bullshit that they bring. They're going to be a little bit more different. And hopefully we can just kick their ass. The crowd tonight should be really good at the Scotiabank Arena, because Friday night crowds at that arena are historically really badass. Like, they come in, like, people are excited because they're on the weekend. They're not tired from being doing stuff all weekend, stuff like that. They're ready to come to the game correct and get real loud and sustain it for a long time. So I know that's going to be a great factor. Hopefully, like I said, we're not going to see anything weird with our injury report because of some of the bumps and bruises from playing Detroit last night. That is really an annoying thing about Detroit, too. Is not only we lose them, but sometimes we lose players to injury because we play them. Right now, it's the same guys that are on the injury report for right now. So hopefully, maybe we'll see Thad Young tonight. and maybe he'll feel better. Maybe DJ Wilson will come off the injury list. But I don't think we should expect maybe Fred too. But OG, obviously, they said he's going to be out for 2 weeks now because they really want to let that ring finger on his shooting hand heal. So we should not expect OG maybe for this whole road trip. And then when we come back after we play the Lakers, then we may see OG. And that's too bad because I really like OG-itis on LeBron James because that really works real well. But the Lakers are falling apart on their own anyway. So it'll be real interesting to see what happens when we finally get to LA. All right. Anything else? It's just over an hour. Just wanted to do a reaction and preview last night. Like I said, I'm not that upset about the Detroit game last night. I should be, but it's Casey. In some ways, he makes me smile. I'm like, you gangster. You're a badass, Coach Casey. Well, look at you and your stuff. And I'm really proud of Nick Nurse for taking a stand and getting pissed off and really letting him have it. He really earned those double tags. Like, he really unloaded on Marc Davis last night. It was good. It was good. I was like, when I saw Nick, I'm like, it was so good. I love Nick for doing that. And it was really calculated, really smart. Maybe he should have done it a little sooner in the game. Maybe that would have helped them get closer and have just enough to get the win at the end. But, these close games, we can't expect things to go exactly right for us every time. That sometimes we're going to be very close and we're just going to miss. And that's kind of what happened last night. I mean, we were down by 17 or 18 in the second half, and we came back in the fourth quarter. And that was not, an easy task because the refs were against us and they were playing super physical kind of defense. And we had to stop them and score to try and get back in the game. And that was tough. That was tough. All right, Raptor fans, don't get down. We're not saying no, Andrew. We're going to say let's go because we pick ourselves up. We go move on. The games come so fast. We're going right into another one tonight. Hopefully we can beat the shit out of the Magic tonight, and it'll totally erase this thing with Detroit. And we don't have to see Detroit again until next year. Thank God. And they ain't going to be in the playoffs, as I said. So they may have our kryptonite, but our kryptonite doesn't arrive in the 2022 playoffs. Oh, yeah. All right. Let's go. Please like, comment, subscribe. Subscribe if you like anything I said. Hit that red button. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. I'm getting closer and closer every day. I appreciate everybody for hitting that red button. All right, y'all. Let's go beat Orlando tonight. Scotty's got to have that rookie matchup once again. Outclass them, outshine them. Be great, we believe in you. Raptor Nation believes in you. And we know you're going to get that rookie of the year. Congratulations on your rookie of the month. This is going to be just the beginning. You need to get that whole enchilada, that ROY. Oh, yeah, baby. Let's go beat the Magic, baby. Oh, you can do magic.